iPhone 12 Pro full spec. Exciting times. No weak season has begun when you just can't keep up with the torrent of leaks coming out. In the last video we've learned what the iPhone 12 Pro chassis would look like. In this video we now have an accurate depiction of the notch, how big it will be, the orientation of the sensors inside, and the bezel on the screen. Was just say things are looking good and will look even better in matte black one day. Let's start with Jon Prosser's exclusive look at the notch. So in today's front page tech episode, Jon Prosser has given us an exclusive look at the front of the iPhone 12 with these leaked schematics. They look legit. In fact, even the way the callouts, the information is displayed, looks very Apple-like, high-tech. We now have an accurate depiction of the notch, the sensor layout inside, and the bezels. It looks amazing. In our concept we were a little eager on the bezels, so those will not be quite as thin but still super sweet. We were about 3 mm off your slapper. We'll be shrinking the bezels by about 0.5 to 0.6 mm on first appearance. It looks a little underwhelming, not quite what you'd expect after 3 years of development. In fact, none of the sensors seemingly even shrunk, and she quote earlier predicting that Apple would be shrinking the camera unit in order to make a SATA more compact, but seemingly all they've done here is move the earpiece upwards and combine it with a microphone. Still, it's okay, it is an improvement. It's smaller, more compact, but it's not any shorter. It's just as tall, just not as wide. I had a question earlier today, isn't this something Apple could have done within the last 3 years or even since the beginning with the iPhone X? Technically true, but in our next exclusives video with Max Weinreich you learned that Base ID is improving in more ways than just size, and it's possible that some of the components have been improved in ways that you cannot explain just by looking at physical sensors. Thanking a concept creator for helping us model that sensor work is legendary. So back in December 2019, Mac the Carer shared this video hands-on with the iPhone 12 Pro prototypes. Apparently these CADs were almost identical to the ones I shared with you just a few days ago, or be one of the 6.7-inch. That one had a smaller smart connector, but pretty much the same CADs here. I mentioned this because Prosser says the smart connector is seen in these CADs will not be happening on this year's iPhone. His sources do not see them on current prototypes. That may be because Apple is pushing it back to the release of the 2021 iPhone, because that iPhone is rumored to not have a port. Coincidentally, these things would be released at the same time because it would solve the problem for a school as a truly wireless iPhone sounds in 2021. How are you going to charge it while holding? No, we're not getting wireless charging over the air or anything ridiculous like that. No, the batteries are not getting good enough to warrant that. Apple is likely to use the smart connector seen in the prototypes for wireless charging using a little dongle, possibly a version that's similar to the Apple Pencil, how it magnetically snaps on. You be able to continue using the iPhone while charging without having to have it on a map. Problem solved. Prosser also mentions that smart connector, no, it is not getting used for a mini Apple Pencil, completely out of the question. No, and if Apple were to use a solution like this, it answers the question on whether or not they would include a wireless charger in the box with future iPhones. With something like this would be cheaper, there would be no need. So sadly that smart connector wouldn't be getting used this year, but Apple is working on 2 separate wireless chargers according to Fudge, one being AirPower to C68 prototypes and one being a small wireless charger C26. That's one we heard about earlier from you, and she quote a few months back, yes, it is happening. We don't know if it's slated for release this year or the next. Member AirPower was cancelled, so Apple is likely not rushing this project. A couple more details about AirPower from Prosser. The prototype being tested by engineers at home had the lightning cable on the right side, and the Apple 11 chip inside has 2 cores disabled, so it's slightly nerfed. AirPower still has a fully fledged processor inside, and stating the obvious, Prosser mentions, no, we will never see USB-C iPhone. Apple is leveling up to a wireless future in 2021 and beyond, which is why AirPower and the smart connector are such a big deal on the iPhone. Regarding the iPhone SE Plus, so the 5.5-inch version, the replacement to the iPhone 8 Plus, it's still happening but delayed to March 2021. When it does arrive, it'll come with an Apple A13, so the same internals as the current iPhone SE. Moving on to iPhone 12 weeks. First off, wanted to reiterate, we still don't know what's happening with the lenses. There are many potential dates that Apple can go for. Weinbach mentioned that Apple was testing the latter are on the right side bottom and on the top, so we added those in there. Don't know how the glass will look surrounding the lenses would be cleared like on the 11 Pro, or will it be black to better blend in with the lighter sensor? Curious. I think personally that I really like the look with the lighter sensor having a ring, which it should for aesthetic reasons. The fact that the lenses don't protrude as much at the lens is bigger is that this very impressive look, and in matte black just so much better. That needs to happen. By the way, when you guys think of her Gen 2 case, I personally think it'll be the best combination of protection yet sleek looks, letting you enjoy the cold steel of your iPhone that everyone should be able to feel. Let me know what improvements you like to see. That there's been a huge report by Mark Gurman detailing the iPhone 12 lineup and a number of other products coming this year. Let's start with AirTags. So he describes the design as puck-shaped. A puck shape would nicely house the CR2032 battery nestled inside, and by the way, these will be wirelessly rechargeable. They do have a very compact system in package chip inside the music and have quite the capability, and Gurman mentions these will have an Apple design leather sleeve so you can click them onto things. I assume there will be a sticky version, and Gurman mentions Apple is working on a slew of new products including MacBook Pro refresh, Apple TV budget iPads and new iMacs. Gurman did also report on the 2020 iPhone lineup, saying they will be 5G capable. There will be at least 2 models with flat size, which of course would be to Pro models if the non-Pro models were to be rounded. He says the design is reminiscent of the iPhone 5. The glass is now to the glass so completely smooth as we predicted, and our CAD week confirms that the Pro models will have 3 lenses and a lighter sensor than on Pro models will keep their current camera setups. At least some of the iPhones will be delayed, which we've heard will be the iPhone 12 Pro Max, the 6.7-inch launching later in October. Next to delays, he says the design still has not been finalized, so we still may see some changes in future CADs, as Prosser earlier warned today. Gurman also confirms the 6.7-inch will have a larger display than the current 11 Pro Max, that Apple is working on a version without a notch altogether, and this year's lineup is likely to support the smaller notch, which today has been revealed by Prosser. Also mentions that the Apple 814 will be more dedicated towards artificial intelligence and augmented reality tasks, that there will be a portion of the Apple 14 specifically dedicated to these tasks, and Gurman mentions the iPhone 12 is currently being designed engineers' homes as are not able to congregate or travel to China to finish prototyping. Also emphasizes that plans may yet change due to the nature of the outbreak. In other news, Barclays believes Apple will be launching the 5G iPhone in 2 waves, one in 2020 with some 6 GHz capable 5G, then in 2021 mm wave capable 5G, which is the faster version of 5G. It seems unrealistic for Apple to fragment their lineup like that. This is because of their in-house antenna solution, which they had to design after being unhappy with Qualcomm's version. The chassis we saw had much wider antenna bands, 1.88 mm versus the standard one. I highly doubt it'll happen, but apparently is a possibility. Also, more Gurman reports that Apple is working on a smaller version of the HomePod, about half the size of the current HomePod, while keeping its existing design. Will also be cheaper, which will be its main selling point. I reported on this a number of months ago, and now it's been corroborated by Mark Gurman. Gurman also mentions that the new HomePods will have marked Siri improvements and music streaming improvements, so I'm sure a number of other options you can stream from. This is convenient timing. Is 95 Mac has just published a report saying starting at 13.4 the HomePod is now running a version of tvOS, and there are a number of reasons why they're doing this. Basically, the HomePod is more similar to the Apple TV than it is to an iPhone, so for power management for future product releases, and likely because there will be a hardware release, Apple is updated it to the tvOS side of software. 95 Mac also mentions the upcoming Apple TV will be sporting an Apple 14. My gosh, the bird is back. I got readily rethinking HomePod, and hopefully it will make a comeback, because as it is right now, misunderstood product, it doesn't really have a good reason to exist when comparing it to the competitors. Siri is still broken on it. It's okay for music, but I think Apple could do so much better. Also, another nugget about khaki, nothing really important, but it's a feature of quite excited about. Shortly after Learning that it might one day be coming to Tesla here relatively soon, Steve Moser shared that in 13.4.5 Beta 2 iOS will now forcibly sign you out of all of your car keys when signing out of iCloud, much like it dumps all of the cards from wallet when doing the same thing. Guys, that's the latest. Stay tuned for our exclusive leaks with Max Weinbach Part 3. Let me know your comment on below section and please subscribe. One love, thanks for watching, see you on my next video.